We made it back in one piece. Just. To be perfectly honest, I thought we were finished there for a while. Oh, I know. What a lot of close shaves. There are so many carriages on the streets of London. You were very nearly flattened several times. Oh no, I didn't mean that. Yes, I know. It was a marvelous defense. It really was. I was in awe of you. Oh, thank you? And now that your fervent exploits have won us some more precious investigation time, let's see if we can't find some new clues for court tomorrow. Yes, let's do that. Is everything alright? I suppose. I still can't quite believe it, that's all. That I'm here in England working as a lawyer, I mean, in the Old Bailey, no less. The truth is, it shouldn't be me, should it? It should be him standing in my shoes. It should be Kazuma. It was Kazuma's wish that you follow him to Great Britain and work alongside him. Yeah, I mean, I never had the chance to ask him exactly why, but he clearly had a plan. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. And you're doing wonderfully. I've no doubt that Kazuma would say exactly the same if he were with us. Thank you, Susato. Thank you. What happened to all our stuff? Didn't we have like a desk and some books and some paper? It was quite a shock earlier today, wasn't it? When the victim himself turned up in court and took the stand? I know. Not only that, but then finding out that he is actually a barefaced gas thief as well. Yes, that was certainly a surprise to us all. For a while, it seemed as though everyone had quite forgotten about Soseki poisoning the tea. Careful of your phrasing. He didn't poison anything. And there's more to this Mr. Shamspear than we yet know, I'm sure of it. Mr. Shamspear certainly wasn't the noble, upstanding man everyone thought he was at first. What's become of him, actually? I was told that he'd be returning to the hospital ward where he was receiving treatment. Oh, which one is that? Let me see. Oh, St. Bartholomew's, or Bart's as Londoners call it. We know that place, don't we? Yes, we visited Miss Green there the other day. It's the same hospital where she was taken. Oh yeah, after Soseki stabbed her in the back. Do be careful of your phrasing. He didn't stab anyone. Perhaps we both owe Soseki an apology. St. Bartholomew's. We should probably visit it later. I mean, would he really want to see us, though? So, we know that Soseki took tea to the victim on the night in question, but he isn't the culprit then. But as he isn't the culprit, then obviously... Yes, the poison surely wasn't in the tea. But if that's the case, how on earth did the poison get into Mr. Shamspear's body? I'm sure we'll find a clue at the scene. There must be something in Mr. Shamspear's room that will help us solve the mystery. Well, naturally, Scotland Yard detectives have been over the place already, but it couldn't hurt for us to have another look, I think. Definitely. And I'm desperate to know the outcome of the investigation into the tea left in the bar of soap. Well, if we run into Inspector Gregson, we could ask him about that. Kazuma Asogi, the best friend I ever had, and a lawyer with such promise. He really saved my bacon in that horrible incident just before we left Japan. I can still picture him now, looking so fierce and determined in court, and then after the trial, that crazy idea he came up with. As a stowaway? Yes, you can fit inside my trunk if you curl up small enough, I'm sure. No one will know. Kazuma, won't you tell me why? Why go to these lengths so that I can accompany you to Great Britain? Well, it's been on my mind ever since we got through that trial, that you really ought to go into law, be a defense lawyer. You've got a natural talent for it. Believe me, I guarantee it. But I've never even thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, I can't force you, obviously. You'll have to decide for yourself. But anyway, London is the cultural capital of the world, the city at the forefront of everything. It can't hurt for you to see it with your own eyes. No, that's true. I suppose, though, if you were to become a lawyer, then one day... One day what? Oh no. Never mind. Oh, sorry, I was just thinking about Kazuma. Yes, he's forever in my thoughts too. To change the Japanese judicial system for the better. That was his dream. And that's why he so desperately wanted to come to Great Britain to study, of course. Yes, that's right, but... Yes? I do wonder if his true intentions lay elsewhere sometimes. I don't know, the thought just takes hold of me every now and then, that's all. Now, what do you mean by Kazuma's true intentions? I mean, this. His katana? I never expected to inherit his sword after Kazuma passed away, of course. No, I know. It was because I asked you to take it. When I have it at my side in court, I feel as though it gives me courage. Yes. Actually, the night before he died, he told me a little about the sword. Karuma? That's right, it's a prized sword that's been passed down through generations of the Asogi clan. A Japanese man's sword is his soul, Ryunosuke. Can't be parted. I can't be parted from my katana. Karuma guides me. I truly believe that. So its name compels its wielder to slice evil in two? Not that you would need much compelling. On that subject, there's something very important that I have to do in Great Britain. Something you have to do? Yes. I'd appreciate you seeing it through with me. Of course I will. Whatever it is, I'll see it through to the end with you. I knew you wouldn't let me down. What did he mean by something very important that I have to do? I had hoped that the answer to that question would become apparent when we arrived here, but as yet I've not found a single clue. I see. Oh, Runo and Susie, you're back! Hello, Iris. You're in fine spirits as always, I see. I am, and you look as immaculately presented as ever, Susie. Oh, you flatter me. Well, you couldn't have come at a better time. I've just made a pot of tea. I'll set some cups. Really? Thanks, Iris. But actually, what is that foul smell? Aha! The Wanderers return at last. Where on earth have the pair of you been? We've been in court? Oh, for that mustache's case. Oh, for Mr. Mustache's case. That was today, was it? I'm sure I mentioned it only yesterday, Mr. Sholmes. I'm sure you think you did. Well, we can laugh about it now. So tell me, how did the trial go? Reasonably well so far. We've managed to escape without a guilty verdict, at least. Really? I would have liked to see it. And I must pass the time of day with Mr. Reaper again. It's been too long. Is Lord Van Zykes an acquaintance, Mr. Sholmes? Naturally. There's not a person in the world who doesn't know my name, Mr. Naruhodo. Not quite what I asked, but still. Mr. Sholmes, whatever is that odor? Yes, what is it? It's faint, but absolutely awful. Ah, indeed. That's the scent of victory, my dear fellows. Victory in science. Oh dear. Alright, I'll bite. What's he up to now? Lord Barak Van Zykes. Yes, it's an interesting whatever. An interesting sobriquet, whatever he has, isn't it? The Reaper of the Bailey. Once the legendary prosecutor has fought for someone's conviction, that person is doomed, even if he or she is found not guilty by the courts. Sooner or later, the hapless soul will vanish from the capital. But vanish how? By falling under a passing carriage, or drowning in the Thames, or succumbing to a sudden fever, or quite out of the blue being set upon by a highwayman. There are numerous routes to fall to one's final terminus, my dear fellow. It all seems a little far-fetched, really. Well, on the bright side, Mr. Mustache is fighting fit, for the time being at least. That's not overly reassuring. If the rumors are true, though, the obvious conclusion would surely be that those acquitted are, well, by Lord Van Zyx's own hand. As it happens, Miss Susato, that is quite impossible. Oh, why? Naturally, the man very quickly came under such suspicion. However, whenever these incidents occurred, the Reaper has always had a cast-iron alibi. Really? And so his reign continued, but 5 years ago, he vanished from the courts, never to appear as a prosecutor again. That is, until you arrived in the country, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, so I've heard. In fact, it was the very day I arrived when I was thrust into that trial at the Old Bailey. That bitter fight to the death coincided with the Reaper's resurrection. And really did end bitterly indeed. And here you are, facing Mr. Reaper again. Poor Runo. I don't know if you're just incredibly unlucky or incredibly unlikable. I think it goes deeper than just me. I sense a general loathing of all Japanese people. So, what is that indescribably foul smell? Oh, well, most probably this, I would say. What is that? My dear fellow, it is, of course, my latest invention. A chemical test that can identify whether or not a tea is genuine at the drop of some tea. Oh my! There are some unscrupulous sorts manning the stalls along some of London's less frequented streets. They regularly sell what purports to be high-quality tea, but it is in fact merely dyed leaves of drab flavor. Well, that's certainly unsavory behavior. So when one is presented with what appears to be black tea, one must be careful. Iris? At the ready, Hurley. Let us add a drop of my chemical to this cup of tea here. Do you see what happens? It's turned completely black. What a foul odor it's giving off. Indeed, the blacker the tea becomes, the more foul the odor, the better the tea is. It would appear that this cup was a particularly fine Darjeeling. That's very ingenious, but what do you do with the black liquid now? Why, dispose of it, naturally. Surely you wouldn't like to drink it, would you? There does seem to be a rather obvious problem with your new invention, Mr. Sholmes. Hence why this chemical test is merely a test, my dear madam. Right. The point is, we are entering a new era of science, in the world of criminal investigation also. Yes, forensic science. Oh, these are such exciting times. I regularly engage in this scientific experimentation alongside my unofficial consulting detective work. The Herlock-Sholmes method will be the foundation upon which modern investigative techniques is based. This little tea indicant was a happy byproduct of my ongoing forensic science research. Forensic science? I suppose I should find out more about that. With Mr. Natsume, who I'm currently defending, being Japanese as well, as well as Miss Susato and myself, I felt it even more keenly in court today. For some reason, Lord Van Zyke seems to have an inherent disdain for the Japanese. Indeed, it is an interesting observation. Do you know something about it? Do you, Mr. Sholmes? It was about 10 years ago that Barack Van Zyke chose to enter the legal profession. However, before that time, the young man's closest companion hailed from the Empire of Japan. No! Tell us more, Mr. Sholmes. What happened? I believe I've made it clear before. I'm unable to tell you anything about the affair. Oh, but... The veil will be lifted on the events of the past in due course, I have no doubt. For now, however, it is Mr. Mustache who is most deserving of your attention, I believe. So, your T-test, is that an example of forensic science? Indeed it is. An essential tool in cases that hinge on the knowledge of whether some tea is of high or inferior quality. Not a huge number of cases, then. Perhaps a more practical example is required. Fingerprints? Not yet accepted in our courts as evidence, I might add. Really, we are dragging our heels here. I hadn't even heard of them until recently. Which is partly why I undertake research in this field myself, of course. Does that mean you're studying fingerprints, Mr. Sholmes? There are others in that field already, and I abhor the companies of inferior minds. No, what I am researching is skin prints. Skin prints? A nomenclature of my own design has this chemical agent that makes it possible. It instantly reveals objects touched by whichever person is under investigation. Brilliant, Mr. Sholmes. As long as it doesn't turn everything completely odorous and black. I assure you, my dear fellows, you will witness my forensic talents in action very soon indeed. Well, I think we should go back to the scene and see if we can uncover any new clues. That's the spirit, Runo. See you later. Yes, until later. No, Mr. Sholmes, we were thinking you'd come with us. You were? Yes, of course. You said so just a moment ago. You said we'd witnessed your forensic talents in action. Oh, yes, I do recall saying something along those lines. But you go on ahead. I shall be sure to follow you later. In all likelihood. Probably. Maybe. Well, I might. Your commitment astounds me. Oh, thank you, Mr. Sholmes. We'll eagerly await your arrival. Bye-bye, Runo. Bye, Susie. Oh, hello again, Inspector Gregson. What are you doing here? Well, we were hoping to have another look around, actually. The lawyer representing the defendant has a right to examine the scene, as I'm sure you're aware. Yeah, I know the score. Oh yes, one other thing. The soap on the ledge outside the window. Did you find it? With the tea in it? Yeah, we found it alright. And there was a small amount of tea in it, as you said. I knew it. It's with the identification section at the yard now. They're looking into it. The results should be available later today. That's wonderful news. Thank you. Pretty impressive performance in court this morning. Sorry? Nothing. Forget it. Just make sure you don't disturb anything in here. Oh, he made it here. That's nice of him. If you ran out of change, you wouldn't even have any light, let alone heat. For the needy, London's winters can be very harsh. That's true, but if you think about it, even the wealthy would find themselves freezing if they ran out of small change. London's winters can be very harsh for the forgetful too, then. Frankly, I'm starting to wonder if Susato and I are going to make it into spring. That's true, we don't even have a meter at Baker Street, let alone a gas stove. Look at how dark the stain on the floor is underneath the meter there. Yeah, from all the water dripping out of after the ice coins melted as you established in court this morning. It's a very large and obvious stain, isn't it? Mr. Shamspeare must have used an awful lot of ice coins, I suppose. It was an ingenious idea, I'll give him that. The sun never shines in this room thanks to that depressing bricked-up window. Yet, with enough determination, you can always remove the bricks to set some soap outside, can't you? That sounds like a very wise life lesson, Miss Susato. Only if you plan to follow a life of crime. So it turns out that Mr. Shamspeare wasn't eating the soap at all. That's right, the mystery of why he had it on a plate whilst holding a fork in his hand is solved. Yes, to prize his latest ice coin from its mold. And in the process, he accidentally broke the bar of soap in two. It certainly was hard to imagine, let alone deduce. Now the ill-fated teacups from which the two men drank on the ill-fated night. During their heated literary debate, yes, who's stronger, Romeo or Juliet? Sounds like it was quite a discussion. Now I think of it, I'm sure that the two lovers in the play ended their lives with poison. That's fiction, Miss Susato. Let's hope it stays that way. Nuh-uh, didn't Romeo drank the poison, then Juliet stabbed herself. Right? Right? I mean, but then again, wasn't the whole point that the poison that she drank was fake? Oh, I remember. Okay, yeah, I remember. I looked at that already. Okay, hello, sir. Mr. Sholmes, what are you up to over there? What a question indeed. Was it not your good self who asked me to attend the scene? Oi, what are you doing here, Sholmes? What are you up to over there? What are you doing here? Dear me, once a great detective, one is always under scrutiny, it seems. Is now the time, Mr. Sholmes? Are you about to show us your forensic talents in action as you promised? With the greatest of pleasure, my dear madam. What's all this? All this is precisely what you requested, Mr. Naruhodo. Herlock Sholmes' sensational skin print seeker gun. Moments ago, I took a sample from the teacup that was used by the victim. A sample from Mr. Shamspeare's cup? Each individual leaves microscopic secretions on everything he or she touches. A sample of those secretions is all I need to produce this, a refined indicator solution. By liberally spraying the room with this chemical, everything the victim touched is instantly revealed with the aid of these goggles. Here, try them on. There. Now, spray the chemical indicator about and all will be revealed. Spray? How do I do that exactly? A little press of A on the area you're interested is all that's required. Like this. What is that stuff? It's like a fog. A suspension of the chemical indicator. Oh yeah, in a pressurized gas. It's the most efficient way to cover a large area. That was another invention I discovered it incidentally whilst I was developing this idea. As you do. Go ahead, try it, my dear fellow. We may learn something interesting about the victim's movements on the night in question. Well, there's nothing to lose, I suppose. Let's explore. So we have that. The window. I guess his pajamas. The tea. Why the heck did he move this? Okay, this box. What about the floor? Oh, look at all this here. Ah, yes, interesting. A multitude of the victim's handprints. Why are there so many of them on the floor in this one spot? Oh, perhaps he had a bad fall here? There's nothing obvious that he would have tripped over, though, is there? I wonder. Personally, I often stumble when there's nothing obvious to trip over. I think that's something only a great detective would do, Mr. Sholmes. Wow, this is quite a puzzle. Handprints all over the floor. Yes, there's no obvious explanation. Oh, do we not make a record of it? Okay, what about the gas meter? Look, there are dozens of handprints here. So there are, a great many indeed. So much so that it's hard to make out any one individual print, in fact. Sends a chill down my spine. Perhaps he was leaning against the wall while he admired this picture? Unlikely, I would say. It's a rather dull scene, after all. And without wishing to state the obvious, you wouldn't generally admire a picture from such close quarters, I feel. Oh, very true, Miss Usato. It's a bit of a mystery, then. Well, we sprayed Mr. Sholmes' amazing skin print indicator all over this room, didn't we? We did, but there are two places in particular that are of interest, I would say. The handprints on the floor here. And on the wall by the picture, you mean? Well, there's like a one that's like coming out, so I think the floor warrants closer investigation. I won't be a moment. What is it, Miss Usato? Look here. On the one of the floorboards has popped out. One of the... You mean it's a secret hiding place? Excellent work, Miss Usato. So, what do we have in here? Oi, what are you lot doing? Inspector Gregson, stand aside right this minute. It's my job to investigate there. No need, Inspector. You continue to dig into your portion of chips whilst we dig around under the floor here. Your fancy talk's putting me off my food anyways, Sholmes. A new bit of evidence is exactly what I need. So why don't we all just look together? Wow, a secret hiding place under the floor. What a find. It's not a hiding place you can make use of in Japan. I don't think I could lift a straw to Tommy that. No, I know, but I never expected one of these wooden floorboards to move either. It's got me wondering about the wall over there too. Aren't you curious? Oh. I'll investigate at once. There's nothing behind the pictures, sadly. Only the wall. How disappointing. But then, how do you explain the handprints? I really can't think why anyone would have been touching the wall over and over in one place like that. There you are, a print for you. Okay, handprints on the wall. Oh, thank you very much. His invention can make prints too? Now then, I wonder if Inspector Gregson has found anything under the floor. I'm desperate to know. So am I. I'd love to know if there's anything hidden underneath a floorboard there. Allow me to ask Gregson now. After all, we're well acquainted. Inspector Gregson! Really, it's been too long. What is it, Sholmes? I thought perhaps you might show me what you found there, seeing as we're such good friends. We're not friends. No, I suppose not. A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. Oh, I'd kill to know what was under that floorboard. Alright then, fair's fair. What? You did discover the hiding place after all. I suppose I should at least fill you in. Really, Inspector? Thank you. Do it quickly, my dear fellow. If there's one thing I know about this man, it's that he blows with the wind, as fickle as the weather. Oi, stop making me out to be some kind of nut. There were 3 items under the floor there. A newspaper clipping, a photographic print, and a tin box. Now, what do you want to know? The newspaper clipping. Looks like this was cut out of the paper about 3 months ago. It's about a convict who got sick and died while he was serving time up in Manchester. How terrible. It made the headlines down here in London as well. The bloke had been sentenced to death, you see, but nature got him first. Oh my goodness, he committed a capital offense? Man by the name of Selden, nasty piece of work, into burglaries and murder. They say the hoard he'd knocked off was worth about £1,000. A hoard? Of treasure, you mean? Jewelry and the like, but he'd hidden it somewhere and no one knows where, and now he's dead. The papers loved it, of course. £1,000 lost en route to hell, or some such was the headline. Does it not strike you, though? Why such an article would be so carefully ensconced under the floor? I suppose now you mention it, it does seem a bit odd. Perhaps I'll go over the paperwork we've got on Selden back at the yard and see if I can turn anything up. Okay. So, this is the photograph I found. Looks reasonably recent to me. Yes, it would appear to have been taken on the street in front of the house here. And the gentleman on the left is Mr. Garrideb, the landlord, of course. But who's this young man on the right? Mr. Garrideb's son, perhaps? Perhaps. You can take that print if you like. Really? Are you sure? We can presume, therefore, that the yard already knows. The identity of the young fellow, that is. Oh, is that true? Well, it's too bad if we do. Unfortunately for you lot, leaking information isn't one of my pastimes. My dear Inspector, if I may be so bold as to point something out. Pastimes are for one's leisure, but this is for work. All the more reason I'm not telling you. A dismal failure. Yes, I heard. That we already saw that guy, didn't we? We saw him with the lady? I wonder why a photograph like this was hidden under the floor. I mean, Mr. Shamspeare himself isn't in it. Photographic prints are still rare treasures in the East End. I imagine Mr. Garrideb was rather delighted to have been immortalized. He probably made a proud present of it. You probably ask him. Now this tin box looks interesting, doesn't it? Might I suggest, Inspector, that you open it? If you were to find something inside that reveals the truth behind this case, I wouldn't be in the least surprised. Yeah, funnily enough, I've already had a look. It's completely empty. What? Shamspeare, give us a clue, man. You didn't even have the chance to utter a word. But anyway, at least we found out what's inside the box. Yes, thin air. It's empty. Rather like how I feel inside. Is there nothing more to this box then? I wonder.